I am kneeling on cold concrete, red cloth biting into my knees, black paint streaked across my chest. My voice shakes as I repeat words I do not understand. Because stopping feels worse than continuing. Candles circle us, 4 shadows breathing as one, and something in the dark feels pleased. A blade glints, not cutting yet, just promising. I tell myself this is the last time. That power is almost secured. I do not know which of us will pay first. Welcome if this is your first time here. And welcome back if you've been with us. Tell us where you're watching from, because this channel tells stories that hit home. If you feel this already, stay close and consider subscribing. Months earlier, Daniel wakes to church bells and cracked walls in his father's house. He knows scripture by heart, yet hunger hums louder than hymns. He watches his father pray over empty cupboards and feels anger dress itself as patience. In public, Daniel smiles like faith is enough. In private, he counts what faith never bought. Poverty teaches him discipline, but resentment teaches him speed. He begins wanting more than salvation. Sola and Michael grow up where dust coats everything, including hope. They learn early that rules bend for those willing to break them. Food comes from hustle, not promises. Michael dreams of respect, not riches, because respect keeps you alive. Sola wants money because money ends arguments. School is optional, survival is not. By 18, both are tired of being small. Kenny lives inside lecture halls and gated compounds. His father's name opens doors before he knocks. Professors praise his brilliance, unaware of what whispers follow him. He has seen rooms where grades, contracts, and futures are negotiated in shadows. Power fascinates him more than wealth. He learns that knowledge is leverage, and silence is currency. By university, he already knows hidden paths. They meet online, strangers drawn together by curiosity. A Yahoo forum becomes a private chat, then nightly calls. They joke about money at first, then plan around it. Kenny drops coded phrases, never explaining fully. Daniel listens harder than he prays. Sola and Michael ask practical questions. Trust forms without faces. Fast and careless. I remember thinking this felt harmless, just talk between boys. I told myself ambition was not sin, only impatience. Every night, the ideas grew bolder. And sleep came later. We spoke about shortcuts like adults speak about investments. When Kenny hinted at other access, my chest tightened. I stayed anyway, because leaving felt like losing. That was my first choice. The pact is never spoken aloud. It forms when Kenny says loyalty matters more than courage. Daniel agrees without realizing. Michael nods because unity feels like armor. Sola sees numbers, not risks. They promise to rise together, or not at all. Brotherhood becomes a transaction sealed by silence. Kenny introduces the idea slowly, dressed as opportunity. He talks about ancient systems that reward commitment. Daniel argues with scripture, then reframes it. Sola asks what it costs. Michael asks what it pays. The answers are never direct, only suggestive. Curiosity starts replacing caution. Their first meeting offline happens in a rented apartment. No symbols yet, just rules and warnings. Kenny controls the room without raising his voice. Daniel feels watched, though no one else is there. Michael's hands shake, but he hides them. Sola smiles, already calculating outcomes. None of them leave early. Later, alone, each man stares at a ceiling he cannot afford to ignore. Daniel prays shorter prayers. Michael sleeps lighter. Sola dreams of cash. Kenny feels satisfied, because alignment has begun. The hunger that bound them tightens its grip. Normal life already feels smaller. The invitation arrives as coordinates and a time, nothing else. No explanations. No emojis. No reassurance. They meet at the edge of the city where streetlights thin out. An abandoned structure waits, windows blind, walls breathing damp air. Kenny arrives first. Calm. Already inside the moment. Daniel feels his chest tighten as prayer dies on his tongue. Sola scans exits automatically. Michael feels important for being chosen. No one asks what happens next. Inside, symbols are drawn in chalk, crude, but deliberate. Red cloths are handed out like uniforms. Black paint stains skin, cold and sticky. Kenny explains this is not worship, only alignment. Daniel tells himself symbols are meaningless without belief. Sola shrugs, because hunger has no religion. Michael watches Kenny closely, copying his calm. Candles flicker, Shadows multiply. The room feels smaller once the door is locked. I remember the moment my foot crossed the circle. It felt heavier than it should have. My mind searched for logic while my body obeyed. I told myself this was theater, not truth. The words we spoke felt borrowed, ancient, wrong. Each syllable scraped something inside me. I did not look at Daniel, afraid he might stop us. I did not look at God either. Something in me went quiet. The ritual ends without spectacle. No fire, no voices, no sudden wealth. Just silence thick enough to choke on. Kenny smiles slightly, satisfied. Daniel feels relief mixed with shame. Sola feels disappointment, expecting more. Michael feels chosen, even without proof. They leave separately, instructed not to speak for days. The city looks unchanged, which feels unsettling. Normal life resumes too easily. Weeks pass before the first reward appears. Daniel receives an unexpected offer tied to church connections. He convinces himself it is coincidence. Sola lands a deal that should not have come his way. Michael is introduced to people who know his name already. Kenny says nothing, only listens. Money arrives quietly, like a secret. Each success feels earned, yet undeserved. Doubt fades faster than guilt. I remember counting cash with shaking hands. It felt warm, almost alive. For the first time, my voice carried weight in rooms. People listened when I spoke. Fear turned into confidence overnight. Sleep improved. Prayer stopped. I told myself control felt better than faith. The hunger eased. Then sharpened again. More felt necessary, not optional. I did not question the cost. They begin upgrading carefully, never together. Better clothes, better confidence. Daniel buys books he does not read. Sola moves faster, buying things meant to be seen. Michael practices smiling like he belongs. Kenny remains unchanged, observing. They avoid discussing the ritual. Success becomes proof enough. Each man believes he is managing it well. The line behind them fades from view. The second meeting is easier to attend. The symbols are cleaner this time. The instructions more specific. Kenny introduces structure, hierarchy, discipline. Daniel hesitates again, briefly. He reframes obedience as strategy. Sola accepts without emotion. Michael feels pride kneeling. The ritual feels less foreign now. Familiarity dulls fear efficiently. Afterward, the rewards accelerate. Doors open without knocking. Academic barriers dissolve for Kenny's circle. Daniel's moral discomfort dulls into routine. Michael becomes louder, more visible. Sola stops planning exits. They begin to believe this path is chosen, not stolen. Power feels natural once tasted. Normal life now feels impossible. The hunger has evolved. Late one night, alone, Daniel stares at his reflection. He barely recognizes the man looking back. The mirror offers no judgment, only familiarity. He considers returning to church, then laughs quietly. Michael scrolls contacts, feeling important. Sola dreams of expansion. Kenny sleeps peacefully, certain. None of them notice the silence growing. The ascent has begun in earnest. The fall is already scheduled. The parties begin small, then grow loud and dangerous. Private rooms in hotels, music pounding, lights flashing red and gold. Daniel follows the rhythm but feels hollow inside. Michael laughs too loudly, clinging to attention. Sola evaluates the crowd for leverage. Kenny moves through it all, untouchable. Alcohol warms them. Cigarettes burn bridges quietly. Women appear as ornaments, not companions. Money buys presents, but never peace. The line is gone, replaced with a blur of indulgence. I remember touching champagne glass condensation and thinking of what we lost. I felt the heat of admiration and the chill of unease. I knew the choices were mine, yet shared. I told myself sin could be deferred. Michael danced with someone's gaze. Hungry for more. Sola whispered calculations into the air, unnoticed. Kenny simply smiled. Satisfied in chaos. The city seemed smaller under our ambition. I did not feel God. Only adrenaline. The nights stretch longer. And rituals follow. Symbols become permanent in mind, less in practice. Daniel prays privately, briefly, then stops. Michael craves audience. Then craves escape from guilt. Sola shops. Spends. And calculates endlessly. Kenny instructs. Disappears. And reappears with rewards. Everything becomes performance. Devotion to wealth. Not to anything else. Fear mutates into bravado. No one questions the ritual's cost openly. The cycle solidifies. Women appear like chapters in a book they cannot read. Paid attention, paid smiles, paid loyalty. Michael thinks it proves his power. Daniel wonders how faith could justify indulgence. Sola sees only numbers and transactions. Kenny treats the crowd as scenery. Each encounter feels necessary and disposable. Nothing binds them emotionally anymore. The city bends to their desire and forgets them tomorrow. Corruption is subtle, yet complete. I felt my reflection fracture in glass. Who I was, who I am, who I might become. Every laugh tasted artificial, every compliment hollow. I began hiding in rooms away from cameras. Michael thrives in contrast. Drinking admiration. Sola talks to brokers in whispered tones. Kenny counts power like currency. I ask myself if this is the apex or the edge. Fear simmers under wealth. I cannot pray. Only plan. The night stretches, endless. The first crack comes quietly. A girl grows attached to Michael, asking questions he cannot answer. Daniel notices, silent warning. A ghost in the room. Sola laughs at danger as if it were a joke. Kenny instructs, ignoring emotional risk. Paranoia slips into their routines. Each man wonders who watches them unseen. The money feels heavier now, almost threatening. Faith and fear collide in Daniel's chest. The grip of control starts to falter. I lie awake at 3 a.m. Panic attacking with memories of ritual. Michael's nightmares echo mine. Sola refuses reflection. Pretending calculation is immunity. Kenny knows, but pretends the world obeys him. I replay choices over and over, imagining consequences in vivid colors. My friends sleep, but I cannot. The city outside hums with oblivion. The hunger no longer satisfies, only mocks. We are bound together by fear and guilt now. Nothing feels safe anymore. One evening, a ritual escalates beyond instruction. Kenny explains hierarchy. Obedience first. Survival optional. Daniel freezes, a whisper of conscience threatening to escape. Sola moves mechanically, detached. Michael tries to laugh, fails. I wonder if any of this is reversible. Kenny's smile is sharp and cold. Power is no longer a gift. It is a trap. Each step forward drags us deeper. The air tastes of steel and fear. Money stops feeling like currency, and more like chains. Contacts vanish without notice. Opportunities close silently. Danielle pray briefly. Feeling no answer. Michael's confidence shatters in panic. Sola's eyes dart constantly. The illusion we built begins to fracture in daylight. Trust erodes faster than money arrived. The night becomes long and oppressive. Fear dominates, replacing excitement. I remember sitting alone on a rooftop, staring at the city we conquered, thinking how fragile it all is. I hear echoes of laughter, warnings, and threats in my mind. Kenny disappears behind shadows, untouched. Daniel seeks prayer. Michael feels hunted by success itself. Sola's future feels ambiguous, slipping. Our brotherhood is now brittle. Everything built with hunger threatens collapse. We are no longer free, only aware of cost. The night swallows certainty. The message arrives like a blade. One of us is marked. Kenny's voice is calm over the phone, almost casual. Michael feels it in his chest before his mind can catch up. Daniel prays silently, hands trembling. Sola mutters calculations under his breath, unwilling to show fear. The apartment feels smaller, air thicker. We are disposable in the hierarchy we chased. The illusion of control slips entirely. Every door seems locked, every shadow suspect. Our names feel heavier than money ever did. I remember thinking, this is it. This is what happens when you cheat fate. Michael sits quietly, refusing to meet my eyes. Sola taps his foot impatiently, pretending fear is profit. Daniel whispers prayers into nothing. Kenny smiles like a predator, exact and satisfied. The line between survival and surrender disappears. Every moment feels like walking blind over jagged glass. I want to leave, but leaving means choosing death or dishonor. The city hums beneath, unaware of the trap above. I realize nothing will ever be normal again. Michael nearly loses his life when a ritual escalates beyond expectation. A cord snaps. A candle falls dangerously close. Daniel reacts instinctively, pulling him back. Sola laughs too loudly, masking panic with calculation. Kenny watches, unflinching, marking the chaos with approval. I feel disbelief, helplessness, and rage mix into one bitter taste. Every heartbeat echoes mortality. The thrill of wealth feels like poison now. I cannot remember pride, only survival. The hunger that fueled us now burns skin deep. Daniel finally reaches out to a pastor, hands shaking. He admits fear, guilt, and confusion. Michael is reluctant, but desperation overtakes pride. Sola ignores attempts to seek help. Kenny disappears, leaving instructions in code only he understands. Prayer feels foreign, yet cleansing. The pastor introduces scripture 2 Corinthians 5:17 like a lifeline. I feel the weight of choice heavier than any money. Faith becomes a shield, fragile but real. The darkness behind wealth begins to peel away. Everything built unravels quickly. Accounts freeze. Contacts vanish. Contracts collapse. Michael loses status, friends, illusions. Daniel finds humility in loss. Sola's fate becomes unpredictable. Kenny maintains wealth, but emptiness shadows him. Fear replaces excitement entirely. The city we thought we controlled moves on without notice. I realize we traded more than money for power. The cost is total. I remember walking streets I once dominated mentally, feeling invisible. People do not recognize ambition when it has no form. Michael invests the remainder into legitimate business, cautiously. Daniel rebuilds through faith and quiet discipline. We are no longer shadows of power, only traces of mistakes. The pastor's sister becomes a companion in recovery. I feel accountability sharpen more than money ever did. Every step forward is slow, deliberate, and intentional. The hunger remains, but reshaped into patience. We begin speaking to warn others, not to boast. I speak to students, quietly, without glamour. I tell them the story not as a hero, but as a warning. Money never replaces wisdom or faith. Choices define the future more than opportunity ever will. I see faces attentive, young, hungry for guidance. The words are mine, not borrowed from experience that feels distant. I pause, letting them feel the gravity of temptation. I remember nights of indulgence that cost more than they gave. Every warning is etched in memory, hard and clear. The question lingers. If money answered your prayers, would you still pray? Sola disappears into ambiguity. He is neither punished nor redeemed. His absence becomes legend among those who knew him. Daniel embraces quiet faith, attending church even when empty. Michael preaches against the path that nearly destroyed him. Kenny remains wealthy, untouched materially, hollow spiritually. The pact that once bound four dissolves in truth and consequence. Each man carries a mark invisible to outsiders. The cost of shortcuts is etched into every gesture. The hunger now whispers rather than screams. I stand on a stage years later, voice steady. I recall names, actions, rituals, and errors. My audience hears fascination, horror, and lesson. The city has changed, but the hunger persists in new faces. I tell them nothing about glory, only about cost. They lean forward, silent, absorbing caution. My past self watches through memory, powerless but teaching. Faith, patience, and discipline now define me more than ambition ever did. Every heartbeat echoes with possibility, not desperation. The final lesson is clear, yet haunting. The screen fades to black as I ask the question one last time. If money answered your prayers, would you still pray? No applause. No answer. Only reflection. The story ends, but the warning remains. Subscribe, like, comment, and stay connected. Learn from hunger before it consumes you. The city hums, indifferent. The shadows retreat, but the memory lingers. Every decision echoes louder than the money once did. The cost of shortcuts is forever. We are never the same again. I can feel every scar from the past as I walk into the city square. The streets are bright, normal, yet I carry shadows like luggage. Michael feels small here, yet the weight of consequence keeps him upright. The memory of what we built, wealth, chaos, indulgence, clings to me. I breathe in, counting steps, knowing that one misstep could undo progress. Kenny's absence leaves emptiness that smells like victory gone wrong. Sola is a ghost I occasionally glimpse in rumors. Daniel prays quietly at a corner chapel, a stranger to the street crowd. The hunger is quieter now, tempered by fear and discipline. Michael meets her at the fountain. Open air, sunlight reflecting in water. Her smile is cautious, loving, strong in faith. They only meet in public, carefully, mindful of boundaries. We talk in hushed tones, sharing stories of survival, redemption, and fear. I remember the first and only kiss, electric, brief, a memory that hums in the chest. She reminds me constantly why the path must remain straight. Her presence is discipline disguised as warmth. I feel safety without indulgence. Faith and affection entwine, guiding me silently. Hunger shifts from greed to purpose. The pastor's voice is firm but comforting when I confess my doubts. Daniel sits beside me, eyes shadowed. Prayers whispered. Kenny is nowhere to be found. The cult's machinery silent. Sola's fate remains uncertain, whispered rumors of travel or exile. I feel the floor beneath me, solid, instead of evaporating like our former illusions. My hands shake, holding a Bible I had almost forgotten. Michael begins seeing wealth not as power, but as a test of faith. Every temptation is a reminder. Every success a chance to redirect. The city seems alive, observing quietly. The hunger that once ruled now whispers caution. I remember thinking about her again, the pastor's daughter. We walk in markets, streets, anywhere public. Our glances carry what words cannot. Her hand brushes mine once, electric but brief. She stops me from straying, from indulgence, from guilt repeating. Faith is her anchor, and through her, I learn restraint. Michael smiles privately at restraint, not romance. We speak of business, community, and healing, not desire. Her love for God frames our every interaction. Only one kiss lingers. A reminder of boundaries respected. The past feels distant yet warns constantly. The city hums beneath us as rewards and punishments replay in memory. Michael reviews business plans. Careful investments replacing impulsive spending. Daniel teaches younger men lessons learned from failure. I feel responsibility heavier than any envelope of money ever was. Sola remains a shadow in the background. A reminder of choices unredeemed. The hunger we fed before now drives creation, not chaos. Every contact, every word, is deliberate. Power no longer tempts with shortcuts. Faith acts like an undercurrent, steadying the river of our lives. I realize that redemption is slow, painful, and intentional. I sit on a bench overlooking the river, thinking about risk and consequence. The city carries no memory of our indulgence. Only we bear the scars. Michael feels grateful for restraint, the presence of guidance, and faith-tested boundaries. Her eyes in memory guide him, whispering safety and clarity. Daniel nods at a nearby street preacher, mirroring his own path. The hunger has reshaped, now a mentor instead of a tyrant. I remember nights of indulgence with horror, now teaching caution. Everything built on shortcuts now contrasts sharply with purpose. I breathe, realizing fear can become freedom. The river flows as if nothing ever happened. Michael meets her again at a park. Sun low, benches empty. Conversation is careful, meaningful, almost sacred in its restraint. She laughs lightly, reminding him of joy without indulgence. We talk about ethics, legacy, rebuilding lives. I recall the one kiss we shared. A spark never repeated. Her love for God keeps boundaries intact. Her presence a moral compass. Every step forward feels deliberate, measured, deliberate. Faith tempers desire, creating clarity where chaos once reigned. I feel alive differently than I ever did in excess. The hunger is controlled, not extinguished. The pastor guides us to invest in legitimate businesses. Daniel opens modest ventures teaching skills to youth. Michael funnels resources carefully, avoiding temptation traps. Kenny's wealth remains distant, a shadow of what could have been. Sola's life remains unresolved, a ghost in stories we tell ourselves. Every morning, prayer precedes strategy. Every investment carries moral weight. Success is no longer flashy, but sustainable. The past is a teacher, not a trophy. The hunger whispers, reshaped by discipline and mentorship. I feel the weight of teaching others finally balanced with the humility we earned. Michael speaks to students quietly, avoiding glamour. He warns of shortcuts and the cost of indulgence. Faith, discipline, and restraint are his tools now. Daniel nods, silently blessing choices made with conscience. The city watches, indifferent, while lessons take root quietly. Every glance reminds me of her guidance. The one kiss, the public walks, and restrained connection. Her faith kept him straight, Our choices shaped our lives. I stand on the balcony of a small office. City lights twinkling. Memory floods in. Rituals. Indulgence. Betrayal. Survival. Redemption. Michael feels complete in a way power never gave him. Daniel prays quietly beside him, humility restored. Sola is absent, Kenny distant. Ghosts of choices past. She, the pastor's daughter, smiles faintly from a distance, guiding silently. The question remains, echoing through city streets. If money answered your prayers, would you still pray? Subscribe, like, comment, and stay connected. Learn from hunger before it consumes you. The city sleeps, but I do not. Memories replay like slow-motion footage. Rituals, money, betrayal, chaos. Michael feels the weight of every choice made in shadows. Daniel whispers prayers, his voice soft, steady, grounding. Sola's absence is a void, unresolved yet haunting. Kenny's wealth glimmers somewhere, untouched, hollow. Every step forward is measured, deliberate, conscious. Faith and restraint now guide actions, not impulse. I breathe, knowing consequences will always shadow success. Michael meets the pastor's daughter at the park again, this time under twilight. We walk along a path lined with street lamps. Distance between hands respected. She smiles faintly, her faith and moral compass evident in every gesture. One brush of hand sends a memory of that single kiss pulsing through him. She speaks softly, reminding him of discipline, the necessity of public meetings. We talk of purpose, community, and building lives beyond indulgence. Her presence is warmth and warning at once. I feel clarity where chaos once reigned. I remember the first business Michael opened with the remaining funds. Small, humble, legitimate. Daniel helps manage operations, teaching discipline alongside profit. Every decision feels heavy with moral weight. Sola is spoken of rarely. A cautionary tale. Kenny exists only in whispers of luxury and lost morality. Faith, patience, and careful planning replace reckless desire. The streets we once dominated now feel ordinary, safe, watchful. Success tastes different earned, not stolen. I speak to students quietly, in a small hall where echoes matter more than applause. Michael tells stories without embellishment, teaching lessons of choice, consequence, and faith. Daniel supports him, a steady presence beside words and warnings. She, the pastor's daughter, observes from a distance, her eyes warm and approving. We emphasize restraint, morality, and discipline over power or wealth. Every word carries weight from lived experience. The past is never forgotten, only repurposed into guidance. The city continues unaware, yet the lesson plants roots. Redemption is hard-earned, not given. I remember her glance when Michael resisted temptation at a fundraiser. A hand lightly touched his arm. A silent acknowledgement of choice. Faith and affection intertwined. Restraining desire without diminishing warmth. Michael feels gratitude, clarity, and renewed purpose. Daniel nods beside him, understanding the power of guidance. Sola remains absent, a ghost of previous chaos. Kenny's shadow is distant, unreachable, morally hollow. The city hums around us, indifferent to redemption, yet it proceeds. Every moment feels deliberate, lessons carved into memory. Michael invests carefully, growing businesses that employ young people in his community. Daniel teaches skills, blending practical knowledge with faith-based principles. The pastor's daughter continues to guide him, a quiet anchor in public spaces. We see results slowly, satisfaction mingled with humility. Sola's life remains a cautionary shadow, a reminder of unredeemed paths. Kenny's wealth is untouched, an example of what ambition without conscience produces. Every transaction is now intentional, measured, conscious. I reflect on nights filled with indulgence, excess, and fear. The memory is vivid, raw, painful. Michael feels it as a warning, Daniel as humility, Sola as unresolved tension. Kenny is a ghost of moral failure. The pastor's daughter reminds Michael of the boundary once crossed only once a kiss. That single act is memory, not repeatable indulgence. Every choice now carries weight, every step is intentional. I stand on the rooftop again, looking over the city. Michael beside me, Daniel at the corner, silent, prayerful. The night feels different now, calm, reflective, controlled. Every choice etched into memory shapes purpose and discipline. The hunger is a whisper now, no longer a roar. Sola's absence is a lesson, Kenny's distance a warning. Redemption is not flashy. It is deliberate, patient, grounded. The past exists, but it does not dominate. I speak one final time to a new group of students. Michael tells the story not as a hero, not as a legend, but as caution. Faith, discipline, restraint, these are tools, not luxuries. Every choice carries consequence heavier than money ever could. Daniel listens, supporting lessons silently. The city proceeds around us, indifferent but enduring. Every eye attentive, absorbing the weight of lived warning. The story ends with a question lingering in every mind. If money answered your prayers, would you still pray? The city lights twinkle below. Unaware, indifferent. Subscribe, like, comment, and stay connected. Learn from hunger before it consumes you. The lessons are etched into memory, choice, and consequence. The shadows of the past are quiet, the hunger reshaped. Redemption is deliberate, faithful, slow but real. Every heartbeat carries wisdom now, not fear. We are never the same, but we are whole again.